How many actual sets do we need to gain muscle at an appreciable rate? Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And when I discuss this, I'm going to discuss a bit of the long-term research that's been done over the years. I'm going to ignore some of the current modern stuff from certain circles because simply put, because I don't think it's really supported, and I think there's certain fringe groups within the research and the evidence-based world that are really pushing stuff that's I don't think appropriate. I don't think their data is quite frankly that good, and it just doesn't match what we've seen in the real world. So when we talk about these things, I'm going to say up front, I have seen over the decades, I have seen guys get phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal results on like 5 to 6 sets. Okay, so that is usually going to be my baseline recommendation if you're going to train really hard. Okay, so we do need it in that context, and then I'll discuss kind of what research has shown over the years. But when I say 5 to 6 sets can produce phenomenal muscle growth, I'm talking at least 90% of your potential gains. Okay, but sets got to be real close to failure or to failure. Or again, even potentially using some various techniques, intensity techniques, such as what you see me do a little bit of on some of these lifts here, where I do a little rest, pause, take a set to failure, pause a few seconds, try to squeeze out another rep. Okay, that's what we mean. So if you're not training at that level, really low volumes may not produce the amount of results that you're looking for. And I'm not saying they won't get results, even if you're a rep or two from failure. I mean, 5 sets will cause some growth. But here's what I'm saying. Is it going to cause the type of growth you're looking for? Is it just going to be 30%, 50% of what you could have gained? All right, we want it closer to 90%. And then keeping in mind, when we talk about that 100% or going from 95 to 100% of your possible gains, that's where people are spending hours and hours in the gym. But we do need to be clear, this is oftentimes the case of people doing triple the work, hoping for 1%, 2%, 3% more gains. So again, we need a context for that. And I actually these days personally enjoy the lower volume training because you can come in, hit it super hard, and get out. And we saw this with a lot of the various programming of Mike Menzer disciplines over the years. We saw a lot of stuff like even Stuart McRoberts, Beyond Braun, got a lot of guys really jacked. We had the lean gains approach, which quite frankly was some of the lowest volumes I've ever seen. But Martin Burkham got jacked, and I knew people who used his stuff, 10, 12, 13 years ago, who were having 30, 40-minute workouts 3 times a week, getting great results. I have clients who are jacked and strong who literally train 45 minutes 3 times a week. Okay, and keep in mind, I have clients who also do hours and hours because that's what they need for what they are doing overall. But when it comes to just gaining muscle, I've seen people produce phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal physiques training even 5, 6, 8 sets a week. Okay, and I'm talking bodybuilder quality physiques. And even me these days, at the time this video is being made, I do about 6 sets of muscle group. Okay, but here's your caveat with that. There's going to be overlap. In other words, it might be 6 sets for chest, but then we're still going to do overhead pressing and tricep work and stuff. So the arms are going to get more. There's going to be overlap. So what we're talking about is direct sets. Okay, so when we're talking about volume in this context, I am saying that we're only really counting 1 to 2 muscles, even on a compound movement, as being the muscles worked for that volume. But that still ends up being very, very low volumes. All right. But again, I've observed it over the many years. And again, let me be clear. When I say people with great physiques, I'm talking guys with better physiques than I have. Right? Like not at my level. I'm talking guys up at well another tier or 2 above me who train like that. But the trick is they train super hard. Super hard. Like none of this, oh yeah, I could have done 3 more reps. Yeah, there's none of that in their training. Nope. So what does kind of the research show? Most of the research I've seen going back a number of years, and what's interesting, even Dr. Volume, Brad Schoenfeld, who everyone's citing, and all these people are using him as the example of the research, I've even seen him admit in an interview the real research, if we go back and really look at everything, 4 sets. He said, look, there are studies showing 4 sets to failure produce very robust, measurable muscle growth in people. Okay, very consistently. Okay, I've seen some studies going back that showed 3 sets taken to failure per week actually caused very good muscle growth. Okay, again, there's your context. He said it, I've said it, we've seen it. 3 and 4, but even Dr. Brad is over here saying, yeah, there are clearly studies showing 4 hard sets a week is enough to produce robust muscle growth. And also keep in mind, 10 years ago, before we're seeing this big trend in the high volume, there were studies showing that exceeding 10 sets in a single workout for a muscle group blunted muscle growth. All right. Then we have to think about people say, what about more volume through the week? But if you're not recovering, there have been plenty of data showing that if you're not recovered session to session, doing multiple sessions for a muscle doesn't cause any muscle growth increase either. All right. So my recommendations for most people, if you want to get jacked with the least amount of work, 5 to 6 sets for a muscle once a week will get the job done. Okay, it will get the job done, but they will need to be hard. And when I say good results, I don't mean, oh yeah, that's only going to cause half. No, I mean the vast majority. You're going to get real close. But the other thing to remember, the upside to some of that, the time commitment's lower, your injury risk is lower. When we start doing really high volumes of training, usually you scale back and train less hard, number one. There can be a great conditioning component, but you also have to rotate exercises and things more often, because if you do not, guess what happens? Your risk of overuse and stuff go up. So when we start getting into very high volumes of training, keeping in mind, we're probably not doing it for extra muscle growth. We're probably doing it for conditioning, for calorie burn, for fat loss, for almost cardiovascular benefits. Okay, we're doing it for a lot of that. And if you're not careful with exercise rotation, exercise variation, changing movement patterns correctly, your risks of injuries can go up. All right. So again, we do need to be clear in that discussion. And I'm not saying that doesn't work. I mean, you can totally do that. I have clients who do it, but I have clients on the other extreme also. All right, guys. Well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys and gals next time.